welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, here we are, another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm super excited about my guest today. This is going to be so much fun. He's a powerhouse. He's a highly rated inspirational and transformational speaker, a success mindset coach, real estate entrepreneur, a published author. He works with organizations, schools, and individuals to help them become the victor in their lives, businesses, and endeavors. I love it. Super excited. Yes. But before we get him on here, we need to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. So, all right, sponsor. How many sponsors we got? We go back and forth with this thing, but today we're doing one. All right, so today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. All right. I'm so excited about my guest. This is going to be great. I'm so excited. It's going to be fun. All right. So Victor Vonico Johnson, founder of Nico Don Projects LLC and 555 Equity LLC. He spent 17 years managing and developing dozens of leaders in call centers while leading teams, processes, and relationships. Over the past 8 years, he's coached and inspired his clients and others through speaking, events, classes, literatures, post, and one-on-one coaching, having created dozens of successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs. So, Victor, we are so excited to have you here on Behind the Dreamers. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here, Jennifer. Thank you so much for the invite.
It's going to be fun. I said that probably like 5 times already, right?
Yeah, the fun should be maximized. Exactly.
I have a tendency to get a word and then I'll just be like, we're going to do the word. It's going to be like the whole show's the word. So today it's going to be fun. That's what it's going to be. Yes. Always fun. All right. Well, we're glad to have you here today. And so I kind of want to open this up a little bit. You know, our audience is going to want to learn about you. I had the opportunity to meet you and hear your story. And so I know they're going to, we bring great people on here. They're going to want to know how you got to where you are. So tell us, first of all, a little bit about, I said some of it here, but I want to hear it from you. A little bit about what you're doing to help your clients succeed and find the victor in themselves.
Absolutely. So thank you again for having me, Jennifer. So my story, like most dreamers, behind the dreamer, like what happens is you're living this way, you're doing things a certain way, and then there's these defining moments that happen in your life. And so that was very much for me what happened. I was living in Atlanta for a long time. I had 3 kids. I was married. I was in the corporate life doing, climbing up the corporate ladder, but I was living paycheck to paycheck. During that time, probably mid 2000s, I was making probably about 80, 90 grand a year, but I was broke 4 or 5 days into my paycheck. And so one day we're taking this road trip from Atlanta down to Orlando, which is already like a 10-hour drive. And my credit was so bad, I did not have a credit card. So I had to wait till I got paid on Friday. The money hit my account. I run to go get a rent-a-car, and we drive down to Orlando. And we basically stayed in this crappy hotel. I mean, the kids probably didn't realize it was crappy, but Mrs. Johnson knew it was a crappy hotel. And so, we mustered up whatever we could to have fun. And then we immediately hit the road Sunday to drive back up to Atlanta. And there was this defining moment, as I say, where my wife's sleeping in the passenger seat. My 3 kids are in the back seat, all slumped over on each other, knocked out. And I got a chance to look at my own eyes. And I was not happy with the man that I saw in that moment. I didn't feel like I was representing as a dad, as a husband, as just a general man. I was, in all this debt, faking the funk, as you will. I'm driving a decent car and I got a nice place, but I was broke and I was broken. And so anyway, in that moment, I got home, wrote down some goals for myself about what was getting in the way of who I wanted to be. And then on the other side of the paper was what that man would do. Kind of books would he read? What would his income look like? What would his credit look like? Where would he live? And the things that he would do on his daily walk. And slowly I became that man it became a to-do list for me. So that's what I'm doing now for clients of mine, is that I'm walking them through these challenges that they have, whether it's financial or just with goal setting, and giving them some disciplines or helping them create some self-discipline around whatever goals that they have. Oftentimes that's going to be real estate related or entrepreneurship related, Sometimes it's just, I need to figure out where my life is going, what I need to be doing, and how to get in a place where I'm moving forward. And we've talked about it before, how to get in that mindset that will have you to achieving the goals that you set for yourself. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it, but that's pretty much what I'm doing now to help people, is those first time real estate entrepreneurs that want to get started with rental property investing, and folks that want to get into entrepreneurship that are transitioning out of their W-2 job.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very good. And yeah, I think the great thing too, your story is really good. And I think that, yeah, we have those. I feel like I've had like several defining moments, because I think sometimes in life we have to, especially when some of us are stubborn. I have a feeling you probably a little stubborn
Sure.
like I am. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs are, that
Yes.
I say you have to get pinned against the wall a few times. It's like the red flags are already there, right? We miss the first few of them. And then finally the big one comes in and you're like, okay, hello. That's
Yeah.
the moment. Like you've had about 10 of them, and finally that's the moment that breaks you and you go,
Yeah.
okay, enough is enough. I need to change what I'm doing. And so the beauty in that, though, I think, is that when you get on that other side, then you have a lesson that now you can hopefully help other people, like you've said, take what you've learned and maybe shorten the curve for them, where they hopefully, if what you're
Yeah.
saying resonates, they can pick up that and say, okay, maybe I don't do that. Right. Maybe I don't have to hit the
Absolutely.
wall 5 times.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Right. Right. I know I
Yeah.
say that
Yeah. I
because I've
mean,
had like several.
you said it correctly. Like it's like literally, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? And that
Right.
was kind of my case on a few different occasions, but that was the one that like really just sucker punched me. It was like, bro, get it together. It's time to move forward. And so I've written out some very specific action items that I've outlined in my book, Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness, where I focus on how to get out of debt, or how to increase your income, how to create relationships that really matter and that you can nurture
Mm.
and grow from, that are mutually beneficial, and then how to attract the type of outcomes that you're looking for. And so I use all those words very intentionally, and that is pretty much the goal for me now. And it's, fortunately for me in my journey, helped me get introduced to rental property investing. That allowed me to create some additional passive income and a little bit more freedom in my life, where I can do this to help others to achieve that goal.
Yeah. And I think wealth is like so much more, like you've kind of touched upon all these little pieces. I think wealth is not even just about money in itself, right? It's about
No.
creating that freedom and within and out, like, right. Creating obviously the passive income and the wealth physically, but it's also creating the freedom within, right? Like giving yourself the ability to accept who you are and to accept the life that you want to create, and do that with the way you design it, the way you want to live it out. Right. Because when we're not, we're having that, a lot of, I just say there's a lot of, we're either one of two things. We're either having cognitive dissonance, right? Like we're brushing it
Yes.
under the table, or we're just having a lot of inner turmoil. Probably both is going on, right? Like we're having the turmoil, we're trying to have the cognitive dissonance going at the same time. But you're so much freer when you get in alignment. I've always said to my clients, if you're having so much chaos go on, it's probably because what you're doing is not really in alignment with your values. It's not, I
Yeah.
mean, if integrity and freedom, and I'm sure in your case it's probably like mine, autonomy is really high on my scale. Like I like to be able to have freedom. I say to move about the cabin. I want to be able to make my own decisions and
Yes.
be able to not be like stuck all the time, right? And if you're not able to live within that space, you just have a lot of conflict going on in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is about determining what your passion is. I do an exercise, and I literally did this yesterday at a high school I spoke to in Dallas. And I had the kids write down 10 things that are the most important to them. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
a game that you love, your favorite socks, whatever it is, like 10 things that are really important to you. Then I give them like 30 seconds. Okay, if you only could get 5 of those, circle them. You got 30 seconds. Come on, let's make the decision. Boom. And then I give
Like
them
it.
like another exercise, like, oh, you got 10 seconds to mark a star next to the one that is absolutely the one you can't live without. And what it does is, and I do this with my adult clients as well, but it gives
Yeah.
people a chance to really get serious about what their purpose is, like what's important to you. And that's ultimately what your purpose is. And so I have them write that down, put it up on their bathroom mirror or something, or take a picture of it on their phone so that they can be constantly reminded of why you're out here doing all the things you're doing. Why is it important to get your credit together? Well, because these 10 things on my list have got to, they're depending on me, right? oftentimes there will be people on that list. And so it's
Right.
an exercise that I love to do. I did it for myself. I'm part of another group that we did it as a group, and it's really eye-opening when you're forced to write down what's important to you and then hold yourself accountable to those people or things on that list.
Yeah. I think there's something powerful about the writing down part. You know, having come from I told you I was in Mary Kay for 22 years. And
Yes.
interestingly enough, you know, one of the big things we would do every January is we would talk about these goal posters. And I am a visual person, but, you know, for many years I thought I'm going to be honest with you. I thought they were cheesy. I'm like, I'm not going to create a goal poster. And I will tell you, I very seldom actually physically create a massive goal poster. I will write my goals on paper. I will put them on paper. And I have done this and I've actually achieved when I have put them down, when I've taken the time to write them down. I think
Yeah.
the whole idea for us is that when we transfer them from the head to the paper, whether it be that goal poster or on your page or if a sticky note, however you want to do that, right? It forces us, like you said, to take the time to think about what's important, right? And then when it gets on that paper, it becomes a little more real. We still have to take the action, but it becomes a
Right.
little bit more real in our mind than if we're just thinking it and it's fleeting and it, you know, and it comes and goes kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I do think there's power in doing that, getting them to do that and think about, hey, what are the things that are important to me? What's the main five? You know, like what's the one thing? Like get that,
Yeah.
because then you get clarity, and clarity is
Yes.
power.
Yes. And to your point on the writing, I mean, I think there's scientific proof around that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's,
Right.
I think 60 or 70% of the information you take in retains to you. It sticks to you. You can recall it because you've written it down. And that's a struggle in this generation, right? A lot of times they
Yeah.
want to snap a picture of it or let me get a
Right.
screenshot of it. No, in my talks, I tell them, grab some paper, pen. We're doing some work today, you know, and this
Yeah.
is part of it. And so it helps them to retain and really get focused on, like you said, what they're focused on, what they're working on.
Yeah. I'm the same way too when I do presentations. You know, I don't, it's so funny. I'm not even a PowerPoint kind of person. I don't really, because I think when I mean, I'm nothing against PowerPoints. Don't get me wrong. I know we
Mm-hmm.
need them, but it's funny because I am such a, like I talk with my hands and I'm very expressive. Like I think you are, I think you're the same way like
Yes.
I am, but I find that the PowerPoint distracts me. And like, I want them writing stuff down. I don't want them looking at the PowerPoint. I want them paying
Yes.
attention to what I'm saying. I want them writing things down. So I will tell them a lot of times I'm like, sometimes I use a PowerPoint. Sometimes I'm like, I don't have a PowerPoint for you. You're going to write things down today. Like, just listen to what I
Mm-hmm.
say. And if you need it afterwards, I'll give it, but you're going to write this stuff down, you know, because there's so
Yeah.
much more power when it goes from the brain to the pencil to the paper. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good for you on
Absolutely.
that.
What's the guy? I think his name is Ted Anderson. Is now the CEO of TED Talks, and I read his
Mm,
book recently, and he was talking just about that. If you're going to use PowerPoints, first of all, you probably shouldn't. But you know, if you got to have some kind of visual aid, have like 3 words on that
yeah.
book on that slide. Like, don't.
Yeah.
I see people that have like paragraphs, and like, do
Right.
you want them to focus on that, or you want them to focus on you, and then never repeat the words up there. They can read that. Your goal is
Yeah.
to, you know, to expound on that idea. So that was
Right.
definitely a lesson for me in my talks. And, you know, as we continue to do this work, we continue to get better. So you making some
Yeah.
great points today, for sure.
You are too. And I think, you know, what's good. I'm glad you mentioned that about the tech because I didn't even know that. Because you know, every time I do it, people are like, do you have a PowerPoint? And I'm like, sadly, no, I didn't put one together. You're going to get me. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get entertained today. I
That's
promise.
it. No,
I was like, you will not be bored. I promise you will not be
oh,
bored.
no, you bring the energy. I can already tell. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is good.
You do too, though. I think you do too. So it's good. It's good. So I want to ask you
Okay.
kind of a fun question moving from corporate into this entrepreneur space, because I've been in
Yeah.
corporate before and I recognize there is a difference being there to here, right? Like you have
Mhm.
to, I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but you have to pick up different skills because you're no longer
Yeah.
have somebody telling you what to do. It now becomes, hey, Victor has to get up in the morning. He has to set his schedule and he has to determine what he's going
Yeah.
to do. So I would love to know, because I'm like the real talk here. What was maybe
Hmm.
one of the most challenging things that you had to do coming from, other than, like you said, cleaning up your debt and doing all this, but any other things that come to
Yeah.
mind that you had a challenge to make that transition?
So that's a fabulous question because I just I was like most people. Oh yeah, business owners, man, they can chill, they can sleep in all day, and then when they're ready to do something, nah, man, you got to get after it. You have to you eat what you kill in this business, right? And so
Right.
I think what one of the big things that I did immediately out of my corporate life was I created a space in my home
Mm,
that would be completely separate for work versus my socializing and, relaxing with my wife or whatever. So I literally have, upstairs, downstairs, and there's a space where when I get upstairs, I have transitioned from relaxation life to work mode. And so that was something that was really important to me in the beginning, was to make sure that I created a space that was conducive to my entrepreneur work, right? And of course, as you see all the motivational stuff, I got my whiteboards and all that stuff going on. But then another thing for me was, especially that first month, I continued with my regular morning routine. I got up, did my, meditation, workout, breakfast, shower, put on work clothes, and went to work. Just so happened to be 14 steps away instead of driving out somewhere, right? So that was important to me, to be able to keep a routine that told me that I had to be in work mode. Where it got really sticky was, you have to network and you got to get out and meet people. And so I had to figure out how that was going to work. And just being honest with you, I did way more networking than I did business in the beginning, because I thought it was just meet people, they'll love you, and then next thing they'll call you, hey, I want to be your client and pay you $7,000 to coach me. Nah, it doesn't quite work like that. So I just had to learn the ropes, and fortunately, I had a severance that protected me when I came out of corporate, but everyone doesn't have that. And for those that are listening, I want you to know you got to set a safe space for yourself before you just jump out there. Your great idea is great because you're thinking of it, but the rest of the world doesn't know you have this great idea until you introduce it, you message it, you package it correctly, and then you prove yourself out and get those testimonials. So I just want to tell people, like I tell them all the time, when you're transitioning from your safe W-2 into your own passionate, loving business, you still have this bridge you got to cross, and you got to build it first. So those are just a few things that I did, and I'm really big on morning routines. So I keep with my mantras and, looking at writing down my goals and looking at those goals, and those really keep me on track.
That's good, Victor. And I do a lot of that stuff that you're talking about too. My morning routine is a very guarded space. And it's funny because I hate it when I have to do an appointment that goes into I can navigate around it. I will manage. I will get it figured out. I'll move it. But I'm very much like, I get up at 5 every single day, except for on the weekends, I get up at 6. And I try to sleep in. I still don't really sleep in. I just wake up. I've trained myself. I just get up. But funny enough, between like 5 and like 10 a.m. in the morning, you think, gosh, that's a long time, right? But I really like that time for myself, because I get my workout in. I have my green tea in the morning, and I can read if I want to read. If I want to do meditation, I can't. Like, I have just all these things I want to do. And when I have to like mess with that little area, like I'm kind of like, I'm kind of grouchy about it, because I'm like, you're like in my zone. Like, that's my space time, you know? Beyond that, I'm good. After that, like, that's why I do all my interviews in the afternoon, because it gives me time to prep the bios, mentally prepared for it and stuff. So I'm with you, and I get that totally. But one thing you said that I really, really liked is the getting dressed part, because when I was in Mary Kay, I used to tell my people, because back then, now think about, I started this in 1997. This was before the internet was really a big thing like it is. And we had internet, but it was still I think it was still dial up at that time. So we were actually making cold calls. We were calling people, and everything was face to face. And back then, people actually picked up a landline phone. Like, we had regular phones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would tell my people that if you weren't in a position to answer the phone, don't answer the phone. And part of that, the way we would conduct our conversations had to do with how we felt. Like, are we dressed? Did we have our makeup on? Do we feel like we're in that space right now? You could probably say, you don't want to say, don't do anything because you never feel like it, because at some point you're going to have to get around that. But there is something about when we get dressed, right? When we get ourselves put together, we have a different mindset that we're going to work to do something. So I used to tell them all the time, I'm like, if you are not in a place, like, look at yourself in the mirror. And if you're not smiling, don't answer your phone, first of all. And if you're not dressed, don't even go in there to work. Like, get yourself together, right? Because if you're showing up in your PJs and now you got to get on a phone with the client, how do you think the energy is going to come across in your PJs? You go be like,
Yeah. You preaching, Jennifer. You preaching, girl. You preaching. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Right? You'd be like, hey, okay, can I call you back in 10? I haven't had my coffee yet. Like
It's like a booty call or something. What's going on here? Yeah.
told you we like to have fun on this podcast sometimes,
Yeah.
Victor.
Yeah.
The goal is always to have fun.
Yeah.
But you get it. It's like there's just something mental about when we get up and we get dressed and we show up. We're like, I'm going
Yeah.
to work,
I
So
love
good
what
for
you
you for
said
doing
because
it.
I come from that call center world too, and look what I got right here. I keep it mirror because you got to see what you look like. You got to our phrase in the call center world was smiling and dialing. You got to be
There you go.
smiling while you're dialing because it's projecting that energy. People can hear a smile, trust me. And the people that are listening to this podcast, they might be driving and listening, but they can hear the energy.
Oh
There's an
yeah.
energy
Yeah.
exchange, and it's like it makes a difference. And so
Oh
it was
yeah.
important to me to get dressed. And I was one of those guys that like to get sharp and dress. And I don't care if I'm just going upstairs. I might not have my shoes on, but
I was gonna
I'm gonna
say,
still be.
up here. It's just got to be like you just got to have most of it together.
Tell nobody that. Yeah.
I always
Yes,
joke,
that
I'm
was
like,
my thing.
with the pandemic, we sort of had to change how we did everything, right? Like, so we would all be like, you can have your biker shorts on and be sitting in your underwear. Just make sure your top looks good and your hair and your makeup. You got it all together, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Some people were not versed in doing that very well. And you see some
Right.
top of their
I
boxers
know.
and junk already.
I know, right? Right.
That's
No, like I
hilarious.
said, we can have fun and we can joke around with this a little bit because you and
Yes.
I kind of come from similar, with the calls and stuff. And you're right about the smiling. I mean, I always tell people, it's like when we used to do scripting and stuff and I think this applies even to today, right now, because
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing strategy calls with clients, if you are conversing with your clients and you come on the phone and you are not bringing your natural true identity, like for me, I'm a high energy person. So if I
Yeah.
show up not high energy, I get that. Are you okay today?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
sick?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They can hear it. They can feel
Exactly. You have
it.
to you have to show up, because they know, and it makes a
Mm-hmm.
difference if you're trying to win a client, depending on the type of client. Obviously, I'm not going to be for every single person, right? Obviously, but the people
Right.
that are our clients, they expect us to show up that way,
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
good stuff.
Absolutely.
You said some good
That is
stuff
good
there,
stuff.
Victor.
Yeah. Hey, I'm resonating off of you. Yeah.
Our whole episode today is all about showing up for your work, right? That's if we get
That's
it, that'll be
it.
this
That's it.
show dress. What is it? What are we gonna say? Show up and go up or something like that.
Yeah. Show up, get up, dress up. That's it.
That's
There
right.
you go.
What is it? 80% of success is showing up or something like that. You know how they have that meme or something that's out there I've seen.
That's
So
it.
good stuff.
That's it.
Good stuff.
Yes.
So I want to know, what do you feel like has been maybe a contributing factor for your success? Anything like a mentor, or anything that you obviously you said you get up. We know that you get up and you show up, but anything else that you feel like has been really instrumental for you?
Yes. So for sure, there have been plenty of mentors, people that have poured into me graciously over the years. I mean, so many people believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, that really wanted to encourage me and push me along. And so, I mean, obviously, dad, mom, those are folks but I've had some direct mentors. There's a guy named Dr. Joseph Marshall out of San Francisco. I grew up in the Bay Area. So he actually gave me my first speaking gig at 16 years old. I was in this boys club that he would take me to juvenile centers and speak to guys that were growing up in my neighborhood. And man, when you get out of here, come up to the boys club and they're going to feed you. We're going to play some basketball and it's a safe place for us to talk. I didn't realize he was grooming me into a speaker at that time. And so here I am many years later and I'm still a speaker. Right. And so, but he's been a great influence. I'm also part of an accountability group called King's Accountability Group. We are a nonprofit 501c3, and it started out with 8 guys on a Sunday night jumping on a Zoom call back 4 or 5 years ago. And it was just, again, these are men of color. We're all feeling good about talking to each other when we're not even comfortable sometimes sharing with our spouses or our closest friends. And, just talking about health, our goals, our business, our life. And so that turned into a group of about 70 guys now that are all over the country. And we turned it into a Sunday morning group. And now we're doing we got our own chat and other things that we're just kind of supporting each other throughout the week and giving resources to each other. But to answer your question very specifically, the one biggest thing that has been, I guess the biggest impetus for my success is that I created mantras for myself. So I am
Mm.
a true believer in a mantra. So just like you said, writing it down, I believe in speaking life into existence. And so I have created mantras, even with every single one of my clients, I have them create a mantra. Um, and for those that don't know what a mantra is basically affirmations that you speak over yourself that don't have to be presently true, but you're speaking in the life that you want. One of my taglines is create your future self. So you're creating the future self by speaking it into existence. One of the most famous mantras ever was I am the greatest, Muhammad Ali,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and
Yep.
just anything I believe that you say after I am, you are helping it to become a reality. And so mine is kind of long, but I definitely have mantras. And I believe that that has been the one thing that it kind of takes the emotion out of things, Jennifer, where I
Mm-hmm.
have some days where I'm down and, again, I'm an entrepreneur. So some days there's nobody around me working. It's just me
Right.
that has to lift myself up. And so I say my mantra probably 15 times a day. So
It's
that's one of
awesome.
the biggest things I believe in.
I'm with you. I have one too. So, and it's kind of long too. And I say it and I use it. I do talk about mantras as well. So I'm 100% behind you on that because I
Okay.
talk about it in
Okay.
my program and I talk about it with my clients. A lot of times they're funny because they're like, oh, what do I got to do this? Right. They give you that kind of, what's the point of this? But
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you a specific story. I actually used to say my mantra on my Starter Girls podcast. So I have it memorized. I still use it, but one day I was walking through my neighborhood because we walk our dogs every morning early at around 6 a.m. And I woke up in this really, I don't even know why I was mad, but I was mad. I just woke up mad. And I was like,
Yeah.
it used to be before I had gone through all this. I mean, I've been doing personal development for many, many years, but in 2018 was when I really started shifting and really became aware of how our thoughts create our feelings and feelings create
Yeah.
our actions. And that
Yeah.
produces our results. I really started getting conscious about my behaviors and how I was we obviously can't control emotions, but we can control how
Yeah.
we react to the emotions. And I started putting the two and two together. And so this particular day, I was walking outside and I was like, you know what? You're not going to do this today, Jennifer. Like, you're not going to let this happen all day. Like, I'm not good at playing victim. So when
Yeah.
that happens, that particular day, I think I ran through my mantra like 7 or 8 times before I snapped myself out of it. But I believe in the power of those because when you start speaking that into yourself, like you can't sit there and be like, mine's like, today is a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change the circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Say that to yourself like 10 times. Like
Yes.
you can't be like, I'm getting chills. Just see, I just got chills through it.
Yeah.
You can't say that
Yes.
many times and be like, okay, I'm still mad. You know what I
It's hard
mean?
to do. It changes the state of mind. It changes the polarity of the room when you can do that. I'm so happy to hear that you have one because it's so important. It's
Mm-hmm.
so important to have that.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's time later, we can say our mantras. I think that'd be super
Hey,
cool.
I think you should tell me yours right now. Go for it. I'm going to let you do it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I am grateful for who I am and what I have now. I am a leader of profitable businesses and properties that make a positive impact on others. I create the freedom, resources, and the legacy that I desire. I am healthy, happy, free, giving, loved, responsible, debt-free, wealthy, and abundant. I use my voice and energy to inspire others, and I am present for my wife, my kids, and my grandkids, and my thoughts become things.
Bam, mic drop. Good job.
Mic drop.
You got it. You got it down. I'm like, wow. It's
That's how,
good.
yeah, I
It's
say
good.
it so many times and it constantly changes, right? Because,
Right.
your life evolves, but I think I probably changed my mantra 100 times over the last 4 years, but it resonates with me. And I was saying all these financial things at one point and I was like, something's missing from this. And it was
Yeah.
my family piece. You're like, I'm
Mm.
doing this for the family. And so I
Yeah.
added them to my mantra.
That's the beautiful thing about a mantra. It can be whatever you want. It could be like the Muhammad Ali one, right? Or it could be like yours.
Yeah.
It can be really, I tell my people, it's whatever moves you. Whatever is like mine is not really any specific things. It's just this, like today's a great day to be brave. You might as well start
Yeah.
now. It's just it's
Yeah.
a kick you in the butt, stop playing victim, get out of your
Yes.
head kind of mindset, and so for me that works. But everybody's mantra is whatever it is for them. And that's the beautiful thing about
Yes.
this.
No judgment. It's
Right?
only for you. It's your own personal affirmation. Yep.
Because whatever gets you inspired, we're all different. You know, some of us need that tough, we need that bang, and some need the little more, you know, they need more soft, whatever, you know. So I say, however, whatever floats your boat, you make that mantra fit you. Don't take mine. Find, you know, make your own.
Yes.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yep.
Victor, I'm loving this. So tell me about your book real quick, because you got a book, right? Do you have more than one or just one out right now?
I have one out right now.
Okay.
So if God willing, I'll keep on living, but it's called Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness. And again, it's just really more, it's a mindset. Real estate results is what it says at the bottom, but it's how I had to shift my mindset towards the life I wanted, not my current circumstances. So there's specific actionable items that I put in the book that helped me overcome my challenges. And again, I was not like some, you know, bum on the street or something like that. I was living a good life, and outwardly it looked like I was probably the happiest guy on the planet, but I didn't feel complete inside. And I know that the way I was going, it was not helping the legacy that I wanted to build for my family. And so I talk about the specific action items that I took to get my goals together, to improve my credit score, to start respecting the relationships that I had in my life. Being, you know, I even talk about in one of the chapters in here, I talk about specifically about the power of a smile, like we were talking about earlier. It's inviting people in. So I don't know how many opportunities I missed because I wasn't even smiling, and it didn't let anybody know that I was open to talk. And, you know, and so that changed so much for me and attracted these different opportunities to me. And with those better opportunities became better money, better results. And then in the last 2 chapters, I talk about the specific steps that I took to buy my first rental property. So I know there's a lot of people out there interested in kind of getting into rental property for the passive income. I walked through every single step of it. And it's not like a boring read. It talks about just what was going on in my world during that time. I was getting laid off at a job, and I was starting this rental property thing and driving from Austin to San Antonio to handle all this, you know, business to get these contractors in place. But it really talks through that and the power of mantras, goal setting, and really believing in yourself and having a vision for where you want to go. Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness. I'm on Amazon too.
That's good, Victor. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, you know, I don't ever like to say I understand that I know how somebody feels, but I can say that your story resonates because I can certainly understand the outward, you know, how everything looks right on the outside, but inside when you're internally dying. And I think that's when we have those, I always say they're like the come into Jesus moments where you go, okay, what needs to change in my life so that I can live out the life that I feel I should be living. And I know that I have the power to create it. Right. So I want to give you kudos on that and congratulate you on being able to recognize that.
I do want to say, you mentioned earlier, I was going to piggyback off of the whole concept of wealth. This book is not about making tons of money, right? This book is, there's so many different ways to have wealth. I think it was Louise Hay that spoke about, you could have a wealth of time. You know, you can have an abundance of time, right? Or you could be poor in time. Like, oh my God, I'm rushed. I never have enough time to do anything. You're poor in your time. You can have wealth of influence. You know, you could be someone in your community that is respected, and, you know, you can help make changes that make a better difference for your community, which is kind of the next area in my life that I feel like I'm moving towards. And you can have a wealth of, you know, your health. You know, what if you got $60 million in the bank, but you can't get out the bed? You know, like you don't have a great abundance of health. So wealth and happiness is really about having a wealth of all areas of your life and being able to be truly happy with that wealth and not focus on, well, I got to get to the next level, but take a look back and see where have you come and where are you at now and kind of celebrate that and take that to move on to the next level. So
I think that's good. Probably couldn't have said it any better. No, I agree with you 100%. I think wealth is more than money. I think it's really about I think it's living your life the way you want to live it. I think it's putting the things in alignment that align with your values. And, you know, and you're right. You could have a lot of money. And I talk about this all the time. And if your health is poor, you have nothing, because in 5 years or 10 years, your health is going to catch up with you. And then what do you do? Right. Yeah. So I'm with you. We always to get hung up on that whole wealth thing. And it's so much more. It's, it's almost like the idea of, do you take the job because it's more money if it compromises all your values? If you have to drive across town and you're in a stressful environment that's impacting your health, and if health is important to you, then now you've
Yeah.
created a monster, So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in doing things in alignment with what you feel you
Yeah.
should in your core be doing.
For
So
sure.
thank you for saying that. So we'll make sure that all this gets on here. So if our audience wants to learn a little bit more, pick up the book. Obviously it's on Amazon, but maybe they want to learn a little bit more about your coaching or what you're doing, follow you. Where do we want to send them?
All right. So www.bethevictor.us. Somebody already copped my .com. So it's .us. So bethevictor.us. And the way you remember it is I want you to be the victor in your own life. Be the victor in your business. Be the victor over your health, over your finances, over your household. Like be the victor.us. And so it'll direct them from there to all my social media stuff. But Victor Vonico Johnson is my name, and I'm just here to inspire people and be a positive influence on the earth.
It's good, Victor. Yeah, we'll make sure when this goes out, we'll get the website in there so they know where to find you and all
Thank
that
you.
good
I
stuff.
appreciate that.
Yeah, we want to make sure they know how to reach you. We always like to make sure we get you guys connected. So, hey, this has been so much fun. I love what you're doing, love your energy, and I can tell you're passionate about it, which I think is so important because we got to come from a place of passion and service when we're doing these kinds of things. Not everybody out there is doing it from the same place. And so, as I told the guy that was on my episode before you earlier today, I said, I always look for people with good human character. That's what we want on here. People that are passionate about what they do, but they exhibit what they're talking about too, because I think integrity is huge. So thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. And I want to encourage your listeners. Behind the Dreamers is awesome. Go back and listen to several of the previous episodes. So inspiring, so uplifting. There's truly some golden nuggets on this podcast. And I hope you become the #1 podcast in the world because you're really inspiring a lot of people.
Thank you. It's fun. We have fun. I will say that the good thing about this is we like to inspire, but it's all about bringing good people on here. I was telling someone I had a show I did yesterday and I interviewed my gastroenterologist, and he asked me in the middle of the show, because I asked him why medicine, right? And he went into this whole story about, that why. It's a really good story, by the way. That episode's great. But he asked me why I was doing what I was doing. And I said, well, for a couple of things. One, I like to inspire, right? But the other thing is that I like to teach people kind of like what you're doing. I'm using my podcast as the platform, is how do I teach entrepreneurs and achievers, all of us that want to achieve things, how to do it and be effective and do it sustainably. And in order to do that, we got to do what you just talked about a few minutes ago, create that wealth. Not just in the financial space. It has to be all the way around, because when I'm looking at somebody that they have their business together, but I see their health falling apart, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking they don't really have wealth. And so that's what I try to do, is find people like you guys that have great stories that can touch upon these different areas that are important to me. And in the process, make sure you guys have a lot of fun when you come on. So that's the goal.
I think you're doing it quite well, Jennifer.
Thank you. I try. I've been doing it for a little while. I think I'm figuring it out finally.
So this is not your first day. Okay, good.
No,
good to know.
I was telling somebody, I'm like, I always joke, Victor, I don't know how far you've been going back and listen to episodes, but if you go back to the Starter Girls, go back in the very beginning, because I've had people listen to it and they're like, it's good, but it's like, you grow, you do something long enough, you start figuring out what to do, what not to do. And, and I've made a few mistakes, but it's fun. It's all fun. So I appreciate you contributing in the process and being authentic and sharing your story with us. It's been great. We'll make sure, like I said, when this gets out, we'll get all the links and get everybody where they need to go.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Awesome. All right. And of course, to our listeners, we do want to say, if you enjoy our show, go check us out over on Apple, give us a rating over there, hit that subscribe button on YouTube so we can keep sharing all these incredible stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.